The Fruitful Entrepreneurs podcast aims to increase the visibility of female leaders in business, inspire a limitless mindset to build your own blooming brand, and leave a positive impact with a purpose-driven business. All right, welcome to the Fruitful Entrepreneurs podcast, where we delve into the insights and stories of successful female entrepreneurs who are trailblazing in their respective fields. I'm your host, Shelley Tilbrook, and today we're thrilled to be joined by a remarkable female founder who's not only transformed her vision into a reality, but is also paving the way for women in the world of entrepreneurship. Today's guest is the founder of Siora. A warm welcome to Laia Canales-Cushing. Is that correct?
Almost. You did really well. Thank you. Laia Canales-Cushing. Yeah.
Amazing. Laia was born in Madrid and now resides in New Zealand, where Siora was born. Siora are committed to crafting a skincare collection that is anchored in science, sustainability, and wellness. So thank you so much for joining us. It's great to have you here.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, Shelley.
Well, firstly, I wanted to talk a bit about your background and career and experience prior to becoming an entrepreneur. So, yeah, tell us a bit about your story.
Sure. Yeah. So you already mentioned I'm from Madrid and I study a postgraduate diploma in psychology. And I've always wanted to work as a clinical psychologist, funny enough, that I ended up working in the field of HR. So after university, I wanted to learn languages. So I wanted to learn English and French, and I decided to move to the Netherlands. And, it's an international hub. So it was pretty cool to be there for a while. And yeah, I work for an international company that certifies multinationals on the HR best practices. So I started as a as a business intelligence manager assistant. And then I grew into a more senior role where I sort of like audits and where I advise multinationals on their HR best practices. So benchmarking them with global companies. So I really got to enjoy the HR world, especially more like the consulting area. Even though I wanted to study, I initially moved to Amsterdam to study a master's in cognitive psychology or neuroscience, but I ended up working in business, and I then decided to study an MBA. So after a lot of thinking, I thought I'll do a master's in business. So I moved to France first to learn French, as I was planning to do that. And then I quite quickly picked up French. So I thought, I'm just going to move back to Madrid, do my MBA. And then my company, because they were all about HR best practices, so they offer really good employee conditions, they allowed me to work from Valencia. So I worked there while I was studying, and then I moved back to the headquarters in Amsterdam when I was 26 or so, just to have that more senior role. And yeah, I was exposed to these cutting-edge HR best practices, and I really, especially with my background and then with business, with my MBA, it really helped me to give me the skills to understand and implement HR at a strategic level. So I've always thought that people are the biggest asset of an organization, and I really like to see those companies that utilize, HR best practices to grow their strategy and enable a business success. So yeah, I really love that area until I met my husband in Amsterdam, who is a New Zealander, and we moved here. So about 5-ish years ago. And because I had the opportunity to sort of have a fresh start, I thought, well, I can start my own business. And sort of, and I guess I've been here since then.
Yeah, well, you've absolutely done an amazing amount of travel. That's, very envious of all the places that you've lived and worked. That's incredible. You mentioned it was about 5 years ago that you moved to New Zealand, and that's when you started Siora. So tell us how that came to be and how you started the business up in New Zealand.
Yes, so I guess the inception of the business happened while I was in Amsterdam, but like technically logistically started like about 5 years ago when I moved here. So I guess there are two main things that are relevant to why I created Siora. So when I moved back to Amsterdam when I was 26, I decided, well, I will settled down a bit in Amsterdam. I actually bought a house there. So I was planning to live in Europe for long term before I met my husband. And I probably was there when I realized I felt quite responsible with the amount of waste that I was producing with my skincare. Quite quite guilty, and I'm happy about it. So I actually asked my parents to buy me a book for Christmas about how to make soap. So I thought at least I can have my, do my own soap and reduce the waste that I produce in that way. And I found the process super therapeutic, and I loved to know what was going on my product and using those more premium ingredients to create a natural, effective product. So I started doing those soaps and shared with my colleagues at work, who they actually really like them, and they're like, "I'd like to buy the product." I'm like, "Well, I'm not set up for that." But sort of that triggered the idea of, oh, well, I guess I can start a business about it, around this. And I'm also combining my passion for psychology, because that's really the core of, I guess, my passion is about helping people and empowering people and promoting health and well-being. So I thought because I said there were two elements of sustainability, and then the other part I was quite unhappy with was the, pressures that women face that come from different angles, whether it's the society or the cosmetic industry, that portray an unrealistic natural look of women, and also make them feel inadequate, lowering the self-confidence to make a sale, so that you buy that product. So I felt like I was being manipulated in a way. And and I felt that I wanted to sort of create or empower or inspire women to develop self-acceptance, self-awareness, and inner confidence. And with our brand, we could portray a realistic, natural look of women that embody those values. So that's sort of like where the inception happened. And then, we moved here, and it's been a journey since then.
Yeah, I love that you're so value driven around that, because you think even social media now, with all the filters and the pressure of people, what people are looking at, and particularly I think of teens and young girls growing up, it's not reality. And so they have this completely unrealistic expectation about how they should look. And I love that your brand is really about, natural beauty and acceptance of aging and so forth. That's a really positive message.
Yeah, that's so right. It's quite concerning. Like now those filters are completely distorting the way we look and creating that inadequacy. So while we're equipping people with knowledge and I guess self-love, and having, been able to manage our emotions. So there's a lot of psychology behind it that I feel can really influence that for us to achieve that goal of helping to have a positive impact on women's mental health, I guess.
A meaningful brand, which we love sharing. I mentioned earlier that Siora was anchored in science, sustainability, and wellness. So tell us more about the product range, and you have touched on a little bit about the philosophy just then, but yeah, what's different and what's unique about Siora?
Yeah, so I guess the wellness part is sort of what I was talking about, but also I think from a more product specific perspective, we want to develop products that are able to improve the mind-skin connection. So there is a lot of science now that is being developed as well around psychodermatology, which I find super exciting, and that's sort of where I'm focusing on as well. So that our products are obviously improving the appearance of the skin, but also our well-being and our connection with our own body, and regulating our nervous system in a way. So producing a calming response on our nervous system, so to decrease stress, because stress is something we all face in our lives, and it really influences well our skin and well-being. So focus on that psychodermatology is pretty interesting, and just creating that product that's focused on that. And yeah, just really like what I just mentioned, focusing on positive psychology, personal growth, to have that positive impact on women's mental health. So when it comes about the science, I think that as well, when I was in Amsterdam, I well, I like to, buy cosmetic products as well. But when I was looking for natural products, because I also didn't like the fact that when I read the ingredients, I did not understand anything. There was so much synthetic ingredients on them and didn't make me feel good. Sort of scared me, like, what am I using on my skin? So I wanted to opt for a natural product, but all natural products, they sort of lack a little bit of the style and the elegance and the performance that I normally seek on a product. So that's why I thought, well, with my brand, I can create more of a stylish, premium natural product that displays that also has this premium sensory profile, while also only using natural or naturally derived ingredients. And yeah, so therefore we're using raw materials that are sustainable. So there is, proof that the product has been naturally derived or is 100% organic or natural. So those are the things we look at, and that also count with clinical studies. So in vivo testing, so that we can ensure that they are highly effective and they are innovative and they use green chemistry as well. So I think that's the scientific part. And yeah, when it comes to the sustainability, well, that was the main reason why I started. So I wanted to be sustainable and have, reduce waste and all of that. So we sort of set up a few environmental priorities with the brand now. So we're using sustainable packaging components. So I've got the products here and I thought I'll show you. So it took me so long to find a genuinely sustainable product, new packaging. And I think there's more and more technologies now that are being developed, which is awesome to see. And it helps me because it was almost impossible to find something. So these jars are made with wheat straw biodegradable plastic. So not made from petroleum. So it's made from wheat. And yeah, so that's pretty great. And that's the ones we're using for the creams. Then when it comes to our boxes, all of our boxes they use uncoated paper. Because most packaging, they've got this like plastic films on them as well, and fully biodegradable inks. So there's a lot that goes into being sustainable. And to me, this is just the beginning of my journey. That definitely putting a lot of emphasis and research on that. Also, we want to measure and reduce our operational footprints and emissions and offset those that cannot be avoided. That's something we haven't really started yet, but is on the pipeline as something we really want to focus on.
Absolutely. No, I love in terms of, a lot of companies will market themselves as sustainable, but it's very surface level. And I love that you actually have carried it right through the product packaging, the ingredients, everything that you're doing, reducing that carbon footprint being the next steps. I suppose, yeah, the products being organic, but you've taken that strategy into the strategy as well in terms of how you've grown the business. I'd love to sort of hear, what you did to raise awareness or start, I suppose, getting those first few customers in the door, other than those people that wanted to buy your soaps initially.
Yeah, absolutely. That's been a journey, and it still is a journey. So my products are really close to my heart. So what I do is part of my lifestyle and my values, as we talked about. And therefore, I wanted my business to be based on relationships and building meaningful connections with my customers. I guess it's not the most, the model that people teach you in school about how to make sales, because it's, not probably the easiest way to grow. But to me, it's what brings me happiness and, makes me motivated to work on this. So I think it also actually, pays dividends. So when you focus on your customers and building that emotional connection and providing an exceptional customer experience, when you're really treating them as unique, because they are, and I really care about my customers in that way. So that pays dividends. So they will be loyal to you, and that's sort of what I experienced. Because also how my products are formulated, so they've got a high percentage of active ingredients. So they are quite effective. I don't want to say my product is the best, but my customers do come to me and tell me those things, and force them to hear. Like, I've got beauty therapists that worked in the industry here in New Zealand for 50 years. they try all high-end products, and they are absolutely in love with my products. And that to me is like, I don't need to do any scientific testing. I already know my product is great because I hear it from my customers. And I feel that I'm achieving those objectives of self-acceptance and personal growth. So one of my customers said, well, few of them that they don't need to use makeup anymore. So I'm not against makeup, but I think using a lot of foundation is definitely not healthy for your skin. So you're not needing to have that and feel confident in their own skin naturally and look amazing. To me, that's a big win. That's sort of what I focus on having, customers that also can be brand ambassadors. And that's the most genuine way, I guess, to grow the business. It will take time, but I know that it is a solid, sustainable way to grow as well. I guess that's how, I don't want it to be a logistic business. So that's the other thing. So when you are detached from your business and you just grow and focus on like digital marketing, I'm more of a personal brand, I guess, then that's really something I'm not interested in. So I want to build those connections and have a meaningful impact. But now, obviously, we're starting to grow a little bit more. So we are having our products in 3 retail stores in Hamilton, which is great. It's like a big milestone for us. We entered into a distribution agreement as well with a distribution company. So we're going to be looking, it's a highly competitive market. And I connect with my customers and I make sales. It's by telling them my story, how my products are made, and people connect with that and it resonates with them. And it's really easy for them to go and invest in the product. But when you detach yourself from it, how can you market the product in a genuine way? I found that really difficult at the moment, especially when you go to a retailer's. So yeah, that's something that's a learning curve for me, that working on. But yes, we've got 3 stores, and I'm currently also expecting my second child, as you know. So I'm not able to travel as much, and I also want to take it easy and focus on my family. But in the future, we want to be more out and about, do roadshows and visit more stores in New Zealand, nationally, and potentially Australia as well, to get the brand out there to retailers. About to enter into having our own retail space and a very nice dynamic place here in Hamilton. It's like an organic market, but it's really, really cool, very nice place. So we might have also our own retail presence there. So yeah, and then we have a trademark. So here, Australia and Europe. So ideally, with time, we will expand on those markets and really looking into a digital strategy as well. It's something that, it's like on my to-do list. Like, okay, so we need to have a digital marketing strategy because we haven't done anything, to be honest. Everything is being through me, and now I have to make it more digital as well.
Yeah. Well, you've got the first ingredient, which is the customers love it and it's getting results. And I sort of see there's a big opportunity for you because I think what you're doing is fantastic. I love the statement that I read on your website that Siora believe in living resourcefully, creating purposefully, and acting sustainably. Tell us what you do to achieve that. So is that part of every decision you make, those 3 criteria, or how do you bring that into how you run your business?
I guess it's a bit of both. So it's also a personal value that I've used to create the brand. And I think there are healthy values that can also inspire people to develop. So for example, living resourcefully. So to me, it means that we use the resources that we have to grow and scale up and succeed rather than the resources we would like to have. Sometimes people are like, oh, I wish I would have this or I will have that. And well, think about what you have and how can you capitalize on that. And when it's also, I think, a pathway to psychological well-being. So it's what I was talking about, because I think our nature as human beings is wanting more and more and more. But when is enough? When are we going to be happy? So I guess to me, my learning is personal learning is to be satisfied with what I have and try to want as little as possible to be happy, because it's also about the environment. and everything we consume will have a carbon footprint too. So I think it goes both ways. So I think when you are resourceful as well, it teaches you or inspires you to develop critical thinking. So always thinking about how you invest your resources and develop competence and autonomy in a way. And with a business, or personally, I bought a house in Amsterdam when I was young and I used my own resources. I wanted to be financially and emotionally independent. So it's about using those resources to enable you to grow. And using the same thing for the business to navigate complexities and challenges. Yeah, so it's about resourcefulness. And purpose for me, well, purpose is everything. So I focus on creating products that are full of purpose and are designed to make a difference on people's lives. So we focus on using organic, like I mentioned before, naturally derived ingredients that are also made with New Zealand grown bioactives and Mediterranean botanical. So just using my heritage and obviously living here in New Zealand as well. So mixing those two to deliver a sense of vitality, holistic well-being, and rejuvenation with every product. So that's sort of like our purpose, but also using ingredients that are minimally processed. So there's not much processing, so and additive free and scientifically validated. It's a bit of the purpose of our products. And sustainability, well, I've mentioned that is at the heart of what we do and really determines the foundation of our strategy, our operations, and I guess also underpins the value of the value we provide to not only to our customers, but the environment and society in a way. So yeah.
Yeah, well, I think you've certainly illustrated or demonstrated the depth to which you stand behind that statement. It's not just a marketing line, so I do love that. I read a quote, and you said that people forget that skin is the largest organ on the body, and it's really important to take care of it. What drew you to skincare in the first instance? Yeah, was it something that you had a passion for, or talk us through that?
I guess that's how I am. I'm a person that loves beauty in general and aesthetics and harmony. Like I like clean environments and beauty in general. So I've always admired that. And I like to take care of my skin and my appearance. So that's always been part of who I am, I guess. And like I probably, why I actually started this is because I wanted to take care of my skin and when I saw, I guess, the injustice in a way, what was happening, like how the industry worked, I felt that I wanted to advocate for a small movement that empowers women, to develop that self-acceptance that I was talking about. There's a lot of misinformation as well and greenwashing going on, and I just felt that that's not okay. And I've always been a seeker of truth. Like there is this quote that says, there are two types of organizations in the world. One that conceals the truth and the other one that seeks the truth, embraces the truth. So yeah, and also with individuals. So I guess that I wanted to, combine my passion for beauty, truth, sustainability and personal growth and create Siora, I guess, to work that. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that line. There's two types of organizations, one that conceals the truth and one that seeks the truth. I think that's really powerful. I haven't heard it before, but I love it.
Thank you.
We have a very female audience of female founders. You speak about the pressure for women to age without aging.
Yeah.
Do you think there's starting to be a shift, or is there still a long way to go in that graceful aging movement? I know you're obviously at the front of it, trying to sort of change that. But yeah, how do you think the movement's taking place?
I think it's definitely been a change. Like it's quite obvious that the industry now is starting to switch into that trend. And when I started to feel this way 10 years ago when I was in Amsterdam, I don't think many brands were like, it's sort of like started to be developed that global trend around eco-friendly products, green chemistry, and I guess that graceful aging as well. Now we're starting to see a lot more diverse models, representing brands, and that's awesome. Like I felt like, I've been hurt in a way, like,
Yeah.
other people are also in that journey, which is super great. But also I think that, then most of the market share is still governed by organizations that don't genuinely embrace those values yet.
Mm.
But definitely it's been a change. Yeah. What do you think? You also feel that?
Yeah, I think there's been more of a, love the skin you're in sort of message. There's definitely been more of a less about the perfection and the perfect, face or body, and more of a diversity of everyone. And I've seen that across both fashion and beauty over here. But I still, yeah, some of it you don't want it to be just a token message. That's where I feel like your
Yeah.
values are so deep, and that's really rooted into the core of your business.
Yeah.
You don't want people to just be jumping on a trend. Thinking of business, so switching it up a bit, what have been some of the more challenging aspects of either launching or running your business? What tell us what hurdles you hit.
Well, I think, there's so much, it's a lot that, running a business, I guess the pressure and the amount of work that comes from running a business is huge.
Mm.
And I had some gaps as well that I had to fill. So even though I studied an MBA, when I first wanted to start marketing my products, I was completely lost. Like, where do I start? How do I build a brand? It's a huge task.
Mm.
Just finding, also the right people that can support you. And I was really lucky to have found good partners that can help me to curating content and writing copy. I got a lot better at writing, that's for sure. But again, English is not my native language. And but even though I don't think that's the key, I think this is writing in general is a skill that is not everybody's able to master. And I'm definitely not that type of person. So just seeking support and learning. Um, Also, I guess the fact that it's a bit of a solo job, so you have to wear all these different hats, and sometimes I miss the interaction that I had in a team environment. But having said that, I also get to interact with my customers, with my suppliers, with my partners in meaningful ways. So it's not that bad at the end of the day. Um, and it's also about having self-discipline. So for me, it's been really important, having self-discipline, passion, and motivation, and determination has been critical to succeed in that entrepreneurial journey. But also, most important, has been the support I had from my family and friends as well. So,
Mm.
yeah, task.
So being a product-based business, what product development or manufacturing lessons have you learnt along the journey? Tell us.
Unfortunately, just to come up with this packaging and the brand and everything, like I started with a brand that was Ignite. It was Ignite Natural Beauty.
Mhm.
And when I first started to develop the packaging and everything, well, first of all, our packaging didn't reflect the feeling that I wanted to convey. It wasn't very personal, so it's really hard to also design everything. And then I realized that Ignite wasn't able to be trademarked. And then I was like, well, I've already spent all this money in packaging for nothing. So it was a bit devastating, especially considering that we are all about sustainability. But packaging is one of those things that are always really hard in a business.
Mm.
Like my husband works for a multinational here in the dairy space, and he says that they lose so much money on packaging because if there's a small mistake, it needs to be redone. So that's really critical.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I've had one client just in the last month had to change their name because of a trademark conflict
Yeah.
overseas. And I have experienced a similar thing probably 10 years ago. So yeah, it's a really important one to check when you establish that brand first up, that you have done that sort of groundwork, that you're not going to run into those issues, and that you do try and get that trademark before you invest in the packaging, invest in the business, and build up that brand. Because if you have to switch down the track, it can be a bit of a headache or expensive or wasteful. So yeah, but it's It's one of those lessons that we only need to learn it once.
Exactly. So I always say that, like, even though it feels like a big thing, oh, investing in a trademark, like I actually had to hire a lawyer in Europe to get my trademark because I had an opposition. And I haven't even had the business running. And you're like, oh gosh. But finally we got it. And it's also about finding a name. Like it's extremely difficult. Just not any name. Like it needs to be a name that really represents what you want to do, that conveys the value you want to transmit. And it's also trademarkable. So to me, it felt almost impossible. I spent so long trying to find a name. Actually, Siora, I made it up. I thought, well, I'm just gonna make something up because this way won't be, it won't exist. So I don't know if you know, but sí means yes from Spanish. And the ora is the Te Reo Maori word here in New Zealand, which is the Maori language. That means to be healthy, to be alive, to be fit, to be healed. So it had this deep spiritual meaning. And I was really excited when I actually came up with it because it really conveys that sort of commitment that we have towards health and well-being.
Yeah, I love a double meaning and yeah, meaning behind brands and names. But that's really beautiful that you've your origin of coming from Spain and where you are now in New Zealand. That's a beautiful, marriage of the words to form your brand name. Yeah, love
Yes,
that.
that's cool, but it took me so long and it was really hard. So I guess that's a big lesson.
You've previously told me that you've started some wellness workshops for women. Tell us a little bit more about that and what you've been doing in those workshops.
Yeah. So this has been really exciting lately. So we've as I've mentioned before, our vision is to empower women to live healthier and more meaningful lives, also while creating the future our planet needs. So how can I actually materialize that, psychological impact that I want to have beyond the product? So I thought about creating a workshop and touching on concepts that are related to that health and well-being aspect. So we talked about stress before, and psychodermatology. So one, I thought, well, I can bring some of my subscribers, the most loyal customers I have, to also, pamper them in a way and offer them an interesting experience to talk about well-being. And I just emailed them and they were so excited about it. So I was really surprised that we're so keen to attend. So I call it well-being, but it was really about stress management. And how I approach it from more like a psychological and biological point of view, or even physiological, because psychology and biology are intrinsically related. So using my studies in psychology and sort of teaching in a way my customers about how our central nervous system really influence almost every aspect of our health and well-being, and how can we develop awareness about this and how our stress response works. So I focus on stress management, like I said. So it was really interesting just thinking about the different stress responses and how our central nervous system operates. So the sympathetic nervous system, once it's activated and releasing all these stress hormones that are perfectly normal because we need the stress response, but it's about being aware of it so we can shut it down effectively so it doesn't become overactivated and we develop chronic stress, which is something really common, especially if you're a mom and you have a child 24/7, and how also our brain is wired to have a stress response activated and originated on the limbic system and the amygdala. So just having a bit of a look around biology and psychology. So we had some good discussions around this. So having, discussions about the fight response, the flight response, freeze and fawn, and how we navigate through those when we are in stressful situations and what does it mean? Sometimes we don't recognize that we are experiencing a stress response. And if we are not aware of it, then we are not in control. So the more awareness that we have, the more control we'll have on our own, body and also emotional regulation. So I think so many women struggle with this, and I include myself in it. So even though I study all of this still affects me. And yeah, even though because I became a mother, I think it made me a little more empathetic, and it gives me a tangible experience of anxiety and stress that I had while I was in that journey. I also had my daughter, my first daughter during the pandemic. So super challenging, and being on the other side of the world. So that was actually really, a great learning experience. And sort of I created this workshop around the things I learned, because when we have an overactivation of a stress response, there are also limiting beliefs that are activated, like not good enough, I'm a failure. And I hear that all the time from my friends now, that maybe they are even on antidepressants, or they are really having a hard time. And they tell me, yeah, I think I'm failing. And I'm like, you were not failing. So we can be our worst enemies sometimes. So it's about encouraging them as well to develop some self-love and gratitude, just saying, acknowledging how wonderful we are naturally. And it's so hard to do that anyway, because we are wired to be honored. You have to be humble, and you can't you cannot say nice things about yourself. So it's about just having that mindset change around really taking care of ourselves and connecting with ourselves genuinely and authentically. Because then it's like, oh, you have all these to do things. Oh, you have to do yoga, you have to eat healthy, you have to do all these things, that it becomes a chore. That it should be a authentic self-care. And through skincare and that mind-skin connection that I talked about, it can become much more organic and authentic. Yeah, well, I'm really passionate about this, so I could talk for hours. But yeah, I think that we talked about that. And then the last thing was how to activate the parasympathetic system to shut down that response effectively. So things like breath work, relaxation, mindfulness, and conscious living, present living are really critical. You'd have to do exercises around that, because nobody teaches how to breathe. We are alive, and so we breathe, but there's actually a proper way to breathe, and use breath work as a tool that can help us to regulate that nervous system, bring it back to a place of rest and digest and safety, so that we can enable us to connect with our intuition and our creativity, and also, I guess, help us achieve our dreams and aspirations in life, bring our visions to life in a way. So that's I think is what we talked about.
Oh, it sounds like an amazing workshop that you've created. And certainly, yeah, in my experience, my personal experience, but also with many clients, you can see the impact that stress does have. And you've got to expect that stress is inevitable. There are certain, whether it's running a business or things in life will happen. But I always say knowledge is power. So understanding how your body responds to stress and learning how to self-regulate becomes just a major power, because like you say, long-term stress is really bad for your health, but it's also, just on a daily basis, your decision-making, your creativity, all of that is not at its optimum if you're experiencing high levels of stress. So I think that's a really valuable workshop, and it's not just for women in business, but all women. So I think that's really important for women to understand that, whether they are running a business or whether they're, juggling family life, there's that level of stress to be able to self-regulate is really important. So thank you for sharing all of that. I read about one of your goals to scale up your environmental and social impact, and you've got an amazing gesture in place to plant a tree with each of the products purchased by subscribers, and calling it the Siora Forest. What prompted that idea? I love it.
Thank you. Yeah, so this is something that I'm still developing, so it's not 100% implemented. But because I've mentioned before our environmental priorities, of setting our carbon emissions, that I thought that a good way could be to have planting trees on behalf of our clients and in every purchase that they make. So I have not found it a partner around this, because there are different options, like planting trees in areas of the world that are more critical, effective to combat climate change can be an option. But then there are other places, like for example, in New Zealand, I could be planting trees that are like, for example, the manuka plant. So you've probably heard about manuka honey. So manuka comes from a bush that, you know, it's almost a miraculous plant, I guess, and could be really good to sort of like plant more of those trees because we're using manuka in our products. So we haven't decided yet, but it can be a reward for our subscribers as well to help them scale up their own environmental impact with our products. So that's why we thought about the Siora forest. So that's something really exciting, and I can't wait to have it all formalized.
Yeah, it's a really great idea. What tips can you share with our audience about skincare? You know, whether it's skincare routines or tips that can help them, or even just overall wellness.
Yeah, so I think with the skincare routine, it could be just like any other routine, whether it's a health routine or a fitness routine, you know, like brushing your teeth. So you want to do it every day, you want to do it twice a day, and regularly. Same with exercising. So skincare will be the same thing. Having a routine is critical. And even though, you know, I hear a lot of women that maybe are on their 50s and they say, oh, you know, I've never used products because I didn't need it, but now I have all these issues. So it's about, like I said before, the skin is our largest organ in our body. It's, you know, we have to take care of it, same as we eat healthy food or exercise. So I think having a good routine from a young age is important. So to prevent any bigger or more uncomfortable skin issues. I will probably also recommend having certain ingredients in your products that are efficacious and that are good for your skin, like antioxidants. So that's like semi-food to protect the DNA of the cells from aging. So you want to have those good antioxidants on your skincare products. Probiotics is also really great. So having good bacteria in the product. So I'm 36. My skin is way better than it was when I was 24, when I wasn't really knowing what to do and what to buy, and my skin was breaking out and wasn't as healthy as it is now. So it's definitely something that you can see that is quite effective. So probiotics will increase and strengthen the quality of the skin and the skin barrier. And also increase skin quality and density. So, or at least the probiotic we use that has clinical trials around that. Lipids, minerals, vitamins, so all those things you want to have a look into your products. And in terms of a routine, I guess having personally what I follow and what I will recommend will be to clean the skin, cleanse it. Some people don't use cleansers and they use oils. I mean, whatever works for everyone. You know, I personally have a combination skin, so it means it's oily on the T-zone and more dry in this area. But some people might have sensitive skin or and that's more unpredictable. But especially also if you've got oily skin, cleansing will be really important to promote that cellular turnover and cleanse the pores so that once you apply a product, it can penetrate deeper layers of the epidermis. So then after a cleanser, I'll probably be using, you could use a mist or a toner. I wouldn't be using, I personally don't use it every day, but if once I have all of those products in my portfolio, I'll definitely use them. But yeah, I guess that's a nice to have. Then a serum, as definitely we launch a serum because I feel it's one of the most important products as well, because it's a live product and it's able to penetrate those deeper layers of the epidermis and release those active ingredients effectively. Followed by a cream or moisturizer, so to lock in the hydration during the day and still provide those antioxidants and that protection and vitamins to the skin. Or for sure, I'll be recommending SPF. So I probably didn't mention before when you asked me about the challenges that I had. I guess developing a natural, stylish brand is very challenging too, because especially a sunscreen, most of the sunscreens are synthetic. They use synthetic sun filters and silicones to have that beautiful skin feel. But if you want to have a sustainable natural product, that's sunscreen is real hard because it will be thicker. It will be, you know, using zinc oxide So that's the one we've created. So we still want to make it a little bit better when it comes to the sensory profile. But that's why I tell to my customers, like, having an SPF is really important. Maybe it's not the most pleasurable sensory profile, but it's natural and sustainable sunscreen with broad spectrum protection. So that's really what you want to be looking for, whatever your preference is, that SPF for sure. And exfoliation. So our next launch is going to be a facial mask that's going to be exfoliating. So exfoliating depending on your skin type, that regularly to reveal that fresh skin complexion and promoting cell turnover. And last but not least, I guess having a nice time to connect with yourself can be through like lymphatic self massage, maybe with some oils. I wish I could do it. I can't tell you I do it now, but that's something I want to definitely introduce in the future, and just promoting that blood flow and oxygenation to also bring that brightness and healing to the skin. So nothing else.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, no, I heard the other day someone was talking about the lymphatic system and that there's no actual pump to move things around with the lymphatic system. And so, whether it's massage or movement, but yeah, that is really important to expel those toxins and get that movement happening. You hinted at a couple of things, but yes, is there anything new that you're working on at the moment that you'd like to share? I know you just mentioned an exfoliation or some developments on the skincare range, but yeah, what are you developing at the moment?
Yes, so that mask that I've mentioned, so it's gonna be having like a honey consistency, so very pressurable to apply, and it actually gonna contain manuka honey. And we've just found this beautiful, innovative, natural active that actually comes from the Mediterranean coast of Spain, so it's perfect. And it's a plant-based collagen. It's so cool. And the way it's been as a biotechnology is 99.9 natural. There is a bit of a weird process going on. So they've sort of used the collagen expression of human skin, and they synthesize that, and they've implanted on the DNA of a plant so that the plant can mimic and replicate human collagen. So there is no cloning going on. There is no, genetic modifications or anything. It's just the original ingredient is synthetic. And so that's a really exciting product. And then we've got more going on, but yeah, we go slowly. So some of my customers, they ask me also, the retailers, they say, oh, customers ask for a day cream that doesn't have the SPF. So developing a gel sort of like cream that is lighter. Also with that plant-based collagen, I think that's something I want to introduce on future iterations. Really very exciting. And I guess on the workshop side of things, I'll be probably looking into that as well. So I'm going to be running more workshops with the stores that we have our products on. So there's been quite a high demand, I guess, from that one-off workshop I did. I intended to be a one-off experience, but everybody's asking for it. So I'll probably be looking for a structure for it and to have a bigger audience and probably a longer format. I think that will be really, really cool. We'd love to have some form of like retreats, probably after baby comes. A long weekend away, and then have experts to come in and have like sort of like a holistic well-being or holistic beauty retreat, and have like yoga or other, fitness exercises, have breath work and mindfulness, the lymphatic self-massage. I think that could be something really cool. Maybe when we launch the facial mask as a launch party, I guess, or events. So looking into having those longer sessions.
Oh, there's a lot of synergies with what you're, I suppose, really passionate about, and what I'm sort of bringing into the Fruitful Entrepreneurs program as well, with the coaching side of things around mindset and wellness, but also the retreats, and we're hoping one day we can collaborate on a retreat together. Would be wonderful.
Fantastic.
We'll get you along as a guest speaker as one of our retreats as well. Would be wonderful, because I think there's a lot of knowledge that you have, and a lot of passion behind women's wellness, which is wonderful.
Thank you. When you told me about the Bali retreat, I was really excited. So hopefully I could make one of those retreats. That would be amazing. Yeah, great opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah, terrific. Finally, are you shipping internationally? How can people find you if they're interested in securing some of your products?
Yeah, so at the moment, we are only going to ship to Australia because there are similar regulations. It's logistically feasible for us. And the European market or the US is something that I've been requested to provide at the moment. For Europe especially, there is a lot of regulations to comply with for exporting a product, but I'm working on it with our cosmetic chemist. So I haven't mentioned that we're getting our products contract manufactured, and they're also looking into regulations for that. So maybe by 2025 or something, maybe we'll be exporting to Europe. But for now, I'm focusing on growing steadily, and New Zealand and Australia will be really great. So we are already open for the Australian market. We haven't done any marketing efforts, but that's something definitely we want to start doing. And I guess this is already one. So it's getting a bit of visibility there and what we're doing, what we're all about. And yeah, definitely can sell in Australia as well. Our website is sioraworld.com, and same as our Insta and Facebook. So yeah.
Fabulous. Well, we will share all of your links below the podcast, and I look forward to hopefully seeing it on shelf one day in Australia. But certainly, I'll be looking to buy online, because it sounds like an incredible range that you're developing. So I do congratulate you on all your hard work. That's really making a positive impact. So yeah, well done.
Thank you so much, Shelley. No, that's super exciting. And thank you so much for this opportunity, and connecting with you. It's been great. So look forward.
Well, and thank you. I know you're 25 weeks pregnant and just recovered from COVID. So thank you for giving up your time, because I know you're very busy with everything that you're juggling.
Oh, I think what you've done is great. Like all these trigger questions as well, it's also been helping me a lot. And I really appreciate your time as well and this opportunity. So look forward to collaborating more in the future.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.